Oh my God. All right. I don't know if this is working. I lost all the other stuff. Is it working?
We're looking at it.
It says waiting still.
Oh my God.
Hold on.
Hold on, yeah. You want to go on the big computer, buddy?
No, hold on. Is it not working?
It says waiting still. So you just.
Oh my God. Is there any way to refresh that? Oh my God. Every fucking time. It says it's going. Oh, good to go. All right, we're good. Check that. Is it working?
It's spinning for me, but I'm going to reload.
It must be working in.
All right. All right. I apologize, guys. This, as you guys know, computers suck. Everything sucks. Listen, all the people, thank you guys, that asked questions. There's a whole bunch of questions that were asked prior because I had to restart all this shit. It's always a pain in the ass with this thing. I know there was a couple about pocket workouts. Albert Wang asked a question, and something about soreness, and I think you were 57 years old. If you could please re-ask those, I'll remember exactly some of the stuff, so you don't have to write everything out if it's a pain in your ass. And I apologize, guys. I apologize. I did everything I was supposed to do. And anyway, so, all right. Matt Hancock, what's going on, buddy? I hope you're doing well. I recognize that. Matt is a strong dude. He's got a fucking engine on him, that's for sure. So, anyway, I hope everyone's good to go. I apologize for not making it Friday. I tried to do that at least during the school year because I have more time, especially during the season. But with summer around, we're training earlier in the morning. We train obviously Friday mornings. I just want to let everyone know, because I'm selfish about what I'm going to talk about. This is my new training log for my rehab. I started doing it on the 13th of June. So I did it this morning. For those that don't know, I've had some issues with my back on and off, and they've just been more on than in the last couple of years. And, you know, I would get better and then get worse, get better, get worse. And there was just this revolving door. I'm sure a lot of you guys understand that. And so instead of doing all the kind of bullshit stuff of what's been called for rehab, I went and looked up different things that were kind of outside the box, and I started doing this stuff. And let me tell you, the first couple days were some of the most painful movements I've ever done in my life. I mean, I was shaking. I actually had to take like some caffeine before I did the rehab on the second day, because the first day was so bad. That's how amped up I had to be. But it's been absolutely unbelievable. I'm nowhere near 100%. But I have greatly improved, and my pain has gone down significantly. So I will share what I'm doing. Probably I think 2 or 3 more months, maybe a little bit more, just to make sure that this stuff works. So, but it's been awesome. So if you are in chronic pain or have some issues, address them directly, be upfront about it, make it a priority. And it's different, and I've been in, I hurt my shoulder, tore my pec, all that stuff. That's like normal injuries, and you just go through them and you rehab them. But once you start getting into the chronic stuff where it starts affecting your entire life, that's when you really need to make the rehab a priority. And I spent too much time avoiding shit. I'm sure you guys know this, where something hurts, then you avoid it. Then this hurts, then you avoid it. Instead of addressing it directly head on, so that you can just live a normal life. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Again, we're good to go here. All right. So Chris Bolton asks, hey Jim, you answered my question about hill sprints last week. I live in the Chicagoland area, so me and some buddies went up to Lake Michigan. Oh, I know exactly where you are, buddy. I went up to hike the dunes challenge twice, which ended up being 3 miles and 1,000 feet elevation climbed. Dude, I used to go there all the time with my mom, and we went with a couple of different families and ran around the dunes. That was awesome. So hold on. I sprinted parts of it and my legs were toast. I have never gotten a leg pump like that from cardio, so thanks for putting me up on the hill sprints, boss. First of all, Chris, thank you for calling me boss. As a lot of people may know, that's always been my dream, to be referred to as boss. In fact, none of the kids do, and it makes me mad. But I don't want to like force it on them. Like, listen, you got to call me boss. I just want to be called boss. My wife's laughing at me. She'll never call me boss. Dude, it sounds cool. What's up, boss? Good to see you, boss. Looking sharp, boss. I want some good ass kissing about myself, what I look like, all that other stuff. You know, great workout, boss. What a leader, boss. But I also just want to, you know, so maybe someone offhand, like I hear them, it's like, how's things going? The boss is tough on us this year. This week's been a tough one. The boss was kicking our ass. So anyway, so real quick, it's funny, Chris, that you bring up hill sprints. I just got a text from Zach Jones. Zach is one of the kids I work with personally, one of the greatest dudes I've ever been around. Probably the best overall athlete we've had at London. He trains with me during the summer. Whenever he's home, he's a football player at Colgate University. Unbelievable kid. One of the hardest working kid I've ever seen in my life. And him and I do some really dumb shit. And I've been telling him, like, listen, we need to go over to the hill and, you know, either weight vest or no weight vest and just smoke and get ourselves. But we haven't gone over there. We've had other priorities. But anyway, he texted me today, or 2 days ago. Doesn't really matter when, right? He just did hill sprints with part of the team. It was, they went over to like some kind of ski hill or something like that. And he said, man, you aren't lying. So if anyone has the guts, the stupidity, and especially the training background, if you ever want to try something absolutely dumb, you should try the Red Bull 400, or at least look at it, because it is bananas. I am nowhere near, obviously, in shape for that. I'd have to drop about 30 pounds so I could survive that. But look it up if you want like a killer hill sprint challenge. Unbelievable. Red Bull 400. So, all right, here we go. I don't know why we're not getting any knowledge here. All right, here we go. Again, we've had to restart this pod or the live stream because of issues. So we had a whole bunch of questions that were asked earlier. Listen, Chris, the other thing is, I don't know where you live in the Chicagoland area, but I grew up in the northwest suburbs. There was, and I don't know if it's still there or if it still is prominent. They may have done something different. There was a sledding hill. Oh my God, I think it was in Glenview. I can't remember where it was. It wasn't terribly far from my house. Glenview, maybe? It's Glen something. I can't remember, but I'll see if I can remember, Chris. Maybe I can. But there was a really killer sledding hill. It was part of a giant park. You know, there's all kinds of stuff going on over there. But that's where I used to run my hill sprints when I was over in high school, and absolutely savage. Now, the hill we have here that's near London, Ohio, it's a part of a reservoir. Absolutely horrible. One of the worst things I've ever done. Whether you sprint it or put on any kind of weight vest and walk up and down, it will smoke you. We got one that's about 40 yards or so and one about 75 or 80, and it is steep. Like when you're walking, or running, you can almost touch the hill. That's how steep it is. Absolute ass kicker. So, all right, here we go. Ryan D says, hey, week 6 of asking for I appreciate it, Ryan. A new book, hold on, Life on Life. Give the people what they want. Ryan, you probably want it. I don't know if there's much interest, but yeah, when I do the Walrus book, there's going to be some stuff in there, I think, that's going to be life-oriented, because I learned a ton about myself and just kind of the mentality of kicking your own ass a little bit and discipline with that, more so than anything else other than like playing football and stuff and training for that. So he says also, does Ryan D, pull-ups between every set of all exercises, the most underrated recommendation you've made, game changer? Yeah. I love doing that stuff, man. We did, one of the kids I work with, former football player, we did press and chin up workout the other day. We always we always have like a base training thing that we're going, and we always, if one of the kids feels good, or we want, like, I present to them a challenge, and they don't always take it because sometimes they're super stupid, but we did something like that the other day, and it was absolutely amazing. And it included doing pull-ups between every single set of the barbell work. Absolutely ass kicker. Taro says, hey Jim, greetings from Finland. Well, greetings from London, Ohio. I remember seeing Horna playing live at the Maryland Death Fest, and that singer from Horn is bananas, by the way. He did some effed up stuff on that stage. So some great black metal coming from Finland. And of course, you guys got, oh my God, what's the name of the band? Oh my God, the Tales from a Thousand Lakes band, Amorphous, right? They're from Finland. Unbelievable band. And when you listen to their first two albums, I think Tales was their second album. Dude, they were like 19 or 20 years old when they recorded that thing. Unbelievable talent. So, all right, here we go. The pro asks, I'll start lifting 2 times a week when school opens in September. Can I use the squat bench on one day and overhead press and deadlift on day 2, along with Widowmakers in 2 lifts for push pull legs? So basically, squat bench one day, overhead press, deadlift, Widowmakers for the main lifts, and then assistance work. The answer is, of course you can. There's nothing wrong with that. What I would probably do, though, is not every lift lends itself to the Widowmaker stuff. Okay, I think it does a great job with the squat and squat and deadlift. Just be wary. I don't know if you're gonna be lifting with people, so just make sure you have the spotting pegs on the squat, or you know how to dump a bar. I'm not a huge fan, although we do it occasionally, of the Widowmakers for the bench and the overhead press. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but I think there might be other ways, things that are maybe a little bit better. That's just my personal opinion. But we also do a ton of like bodybuilding work, and we do a little higher volume on the upper body stuff. But yes, you can do that. The other thing I would probably do is give yourself a training minimum for the assistance. So not every day you're going to feel great. So say, like, listen, as long as I get at the very least, I would put in 1 core movement, like some kind of abs or low back per workout, and 1 kind of pulling movement. That would be, for example, rows and chin-ups and lat pull down. So that would be my bare minimum. That's what I would probably put down on the paper, and then say, like, listen, if I feel good, I can do X, Y, and Z. But if I don't, these are the daily minimums. It's very similar, the pro, as you call yourself, to the ideas behind the article I wrote, or the whatever you want to. It's an article, but the blog post about training for busy and or inconsistent men, or something like that. So yes, I think you're good to go, man. Enjoy school. I assume you're working at the school, so be patient, my friend. I'm not talking about training. I'm talking about with the ding-dongs. Oh my God. Matthew Julian says, hey, I'm in my early 30s and love to train, but haven't progressed in years, as I think it's because I do too much. Okay. I eat around maintenance and sleep is not great. My assistance weights go up. My main lifts don't. Maybe more generally, how would you program for someone who doesn't recover well? Okay. So there's a lot to unpack here. My first rule of training or recovery is don't train like an asshole. So right now, your training has to match your recovery abilities. That goes for anyone, all right? And that's one of the things I love about in-season training, because it's constantly trying to figure out where the recovery levels are. And I love doing that stuff. I think it's way more fun than just do this on the paper. So to me, it's like a puzzle that I like to work out. So that's number one. So if you're not going to do anything with your food and not address your sleep issues, you're going to have to change your training issues, right? That's just the way it goes. You admittedly say you probably do too much. So, and if you're not willing to change your eating and you're not willing to address your sleep issues, nothing's going to get better. So you're going to have to do less. Okay. So, and the great thing though, Matthew, if you decide to, is your food and your sleep are things, generally speaking, that you have 100% control over. So you have to decide whether or not you're willing to do that. And I'm not putting shit on you or anything like that or calling you out, but because I know there's a lot of things, like I have deficiencies here and there with my training, but I also am honest with myself and I say, listen, I know like I need to eat X, Y, and Z, but I'm just not going to do it, and I accept the consequences. So you have to like be completely honest with yourself. I don't know what you're training, and I don't know how you do it, or your intensity and pace and all that other stuff. So I would probably, if you're not willing to change your eating and your sleeping, you're going to have to pull back a little bit on your training. And the other thing I would probably do is, while let's say you do improve your food intake, I would also make sure, like, listen, give yourself 6 months. I think way too many people, and this is me included, this was something I had to really address with my Fancy Dancy Rehab, that's my rehab book again, is stop looking for short-term solutions to long-term problems. So what I'm trying to say is, you haven't progressed much, so let's look at it, let's take a big step back, let's start looking long-term about the things that you need to improve on, and take your time and make sure you're doing them consistently over a long period of time. It's not like one big meal is going to put you over the edge or anything like that. It's 6 to 12 months of doing things correctly. It's going to bed at a reasonable time if that's what you need, or going to a sleep clinic or something like that, or maybe you have sleep apnea or something like that. So you need to get those things out and just take a stubborn, hard-headed approach to getting that shit done. And that's what I had to do. I had to take a long look in the mirror and say, like, listen, all the advice and work that I've been doing for my back rehab doesn't work. Like, I had to, it sucks. I was incredibly consistent. I always had some belief that things would get better, but it wasn't working. So I had to kick my own ass a little bit and be like, listen, I have to do something different. I don't want to have one more year where my training's up and down, and I feel like shit. And I'll give you a crazy example. I know I'm talking out of my ass right now, but I didn't realize how much pain I was in until I got out of a lot of pain. And it's amazing. I feel a billion times better right now on just everyday things, where I thought sitting down doesn't cause pain, because I just got used to the pain. And then now I can sit down. I feel like, oh my God, I got so much energy. So anyway, you're going to have to change your training, or you have to change your food and your sleep, buddy. There's no two ways around that. Okay. So I hope that helps, bud. All right, here we go. Chief Wendler. So here's another thing. I used to call my oldest son Chief all the time. So he says, this is David PM. He says, I have introduced neck work between the warm-up sets of main movements. Is this correct? Yes. You can do it before or after as part of the one thing I used to do, very similar to what David did, was especially when I was doing all kinds of the crazy weight fest stuff, and I would always get my neck done just like you do during the warm-up. So I would always do about 50 total reps or somewhere in there. Just depends on the weight I'm using every time I trained. And that would either be the neck harness or the neck flexion, where you lay on the bench and put a plate on your head. You have a towel there and just go up and down. So the weight's on your forehead. So yes, you can. The most important thing, David, is you do it. You're consistent with it. And the other thing with neck work is, I'm telling you, especially whether you use it as a warm up or not, is make sure you ease into it. Don't just put on 1,000,000 pounds and do it. Trust me, you do not want that at all. So, I lost my spot there. All right, here we go. Sean Dunn. Sean, I thought we had to talk about this. Your name is Sam Dunn. All right, you're gonna have to go to your city hall and change your name, just so it makes me feel better. Anyway, I recognize you haven't been here in a little bit, so I appreciate you coming back. So Sean Dunn says, hey, boss, have you ever tried Indian clubs or I think that says meal clubs for your shoulders? What do you think of these tools? All right. I remember when Louis got the Indian clubs. Louis was like, would try anything. And he said it really helped his shoulders. I have, I guess it's a mace, I guess. I don't know how heavy it is. It's not terribly heavy, maybe 20 pounds or something like that. And I think it's awesome. I used it along with my neck work and some hurdle work as part of my warm up. I wouldn't do 2 hours of it or anything like that. I think it's an awesome thing to put in your training. I think you can use it as part of your assistance work. However you want to do it, you can use it as part of your warm up. So yes, I'm a big fan of keeping the main lift, and then peppering all the other stuff with whatever you want to try. Whether that's body weight work, whether that's kettlebells, whether that's Indian clubs, whether that's just machines and going boss on that shit. That way you have something that's the standard and that is the kind of the core of your training, so to speak, the rock of your training, and then you can just do as much different stuff, and you don't have to do the same different stuff all the time, if that makes sense. I think it's awesome. Listen, for the next 3 months, I'm going to kick ass at the squat, bench, trap bar, press, bench press, and then I'm just going ham on body weight stuff. And then maybe the winter rolls around, right? And you got to stay inside at the local gym. You do your squat, bench, deadlift, press, and then you just go ham on the machines, even if it's just 1 or 2 months. So bottom line is, yes, I think they're great. I think they did help my shoulder quite a bit. That, along with the bottoms up kettlebell press and the Turkish get up, really helped my shoulders, really helped. So kudos to you, and Sean, go ahead and get that, man. Go ahead. If you want to do it, man, just keep the base the base. There we go. And I don't mean the 4-string. What did James Hetfield call it? The 4-string motherfucker with Cliff Burton. You know what drives me nuts is those bass guitars that the size of an ironing board. They got 38 strings or whatever. Just listen, 4 strings was fine for Lemmy, and Cliff, it's fine for you. Get over yourself. All right, here we go. Zach Glazer says, hey, Jim, thank you for your programming of the 5-3-1 method. Well, I appreciate it. I was recently introduced to the Walrus training and have really enjoyed it the past 4 weeks. It's been a good break from the barbell. That's awesome. Zach, remember, with anything, and we just kind of talked about this with Sean, you can alternate between traditional training and Walrus training. You can even do as we talked about with Sean, is you can still keep the barbell stuff in if you want, and then your assistance would be the Walrus stuff. And again, I've said this, one of the things I think more people should do with that style of training, the Walrus training, is always have a base workout. For me, it's always the squat, push-ups, and chin-ups. But don't be afraid to start doing different stuff in place. For example, I love using sleds for my lower body work. I used a lot of kettlebells in my lower body work. Farmer's walk. You can do dips. You can do push-ups, maybe on a count, so they're a little slower. You can do you can do fat man rows, different grip chin-ups, rope chin-ups. You can do obviously rows and stuff like that for your pulling. So that's awesome, Zach. As soon as I get healthy, which I fucking will, I cannot wait to put on my 20-pound vest and absolutely go ham. I cannot wait. So I'm just so excited, and I am being patient. I'm not getting back into anything until I'm ready to go, and I mean ready to go. I need a back and abs that are made of titanium. So okay. Chessie says, is core only assistance good for progressing squat and deadlift? As you state in 5-3-1 forever, only abdominal work for boring but big, no lower back and single leg work. Is core only assistance good? So the reason why we don't do any lower back work during boring but big or single leg work is because the volume on the squat and deadlift. It's a lot. You don't need to do anything else. You should be getting all that you get from that. I also don't think you should do boring but big all the time, because I think it opens up holes in your training and in your body, meaning I think people need to do some kind of other leg work, whether that's single leg work or leg presses or sleds or prowlers, stuff like that, or climbing hills with a weight vest. And I think people definitely need to do direct lower back work. I'm a living example of both what happens when you do it, everything goes up and your back gets awesome, or when you don't do it, the current situation I'm in right now. So is core only assistance good for progressing? I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, because that's a different question, because boring but big should not be run year round, obviously. So when you do boring but big, again, I don't think you need to do any more lower back or single leg work. I do think you need to do abdominal work and some kind of pulling. So, but that need not be done, obviously, all the time. That should be done, 2 or 3 cycles, and then you go back to normal training where you can really do some direct low back work. So I hope that answers your question. Taro says, is it okay to combine squat and bench press and deadlift overhead press when following the original 5-3-1 template? I usually do FSL plus push-ups and pull-ups after the main lift. Okay, the question is it okay to combine? Yes, there's nothing wrong with that. Me personally, if I'm working with someone, we do 1 main lift a day, and the way that we do it and the pace that we do it and the exercise we do, other than that, that's all you want to do, trust me. The only time we will squat, bench, and do stuff like that in a entire workout is when we do what I call the 5-3-1 metabolic style training, very similar to the Nebraska, obviously, metabolic style. And you have to be ready for that. So, because things start sucking real quick when you do that style of training. So is it okay? Yes. Me personally, when we do it, when I train people one-on-one, we do not do that. When I train the kids over at London, we always do 1 main lift a day. That we always have a main focus for the day. And the kids know, like, listen, we got to obviously push our assistance, but today the focus when we are dialed in is either the squat, the bench press, or the trap bar. That's just how I've done it. I have done 2 lifts a day personally, and it's always the second lift for me doesn't get the same kind of mental attention. So Taro's from Finland. He says, P.S. Amorphous is awesome. I've been listening to them since the 90s. Yeah, it's crazy how young some of these kids were. Unbelievable. All right, here we go. Ivan Bunchik says, good day, Sir Wendler. Came back from work just in time to join the stream. Deadlift day 2 days later. And then he sends me a frowny face. Dude, embrace it, man. Embrace the suck. I've told this story before, but Zach Jones and I were outside doing the stadiums. We had 50. Zach had like the 55-pound vest on. I had the 20-pound ruck. We get out to the stadium. 50 stadium steps usually takes, or 50 stadium steps, 50 rows takes about between 50 and 60 minutes, okay? We get there, it's kind of overcast, and then by like a 3rd or 4th row, it just starts pouring. And I'm not talking like a little drizzle, like just an absolute downpour. And I looked at Zach and I'm like, this sucks, man. And then after like 5 or 10 minutes, I'm like, you know what? Like my shoes are completely soaked through, my shirt, everything is just, not just wet, but like you could wring out, and my feet are squishing. And I just said, you know what? This is the way it is. Let's just accept our, and we started laughing about everything and having a great time. So sometimes when shit hits the fan, whether it's heat, rain, snow, cold, accept your situation and just put on a different attitude. So Ivan, I know it's deadlift day and you got a smiley or frowny face, but you guys understand. It's just a little life lesson there for you. Like you can't change the weather, but you can change your attitude. Is basically what it comes down to. All right, here we go. Ben Englander says, hey, I just started 5-3-1. It's going great, but on my deadlift plus sets, reps are much slower than lighter sets. That's going to happen because it's heavier. Do you grant any speed leeway for the heaviest sets? Yes. Or should all reps be fast, period? Ben, this is how it goes, man. When you're training for plus sets, the bar speed will slow down. The main goal, though, is that you're attempting to move the bar as fast as possible. Has to be under control, but you're really giving your all. And I am telling you, I have done this a million times, both myself and especially with the kids I work with. When I coach someone, if they're on like their third rep or something and they don't have the pop that I'm looking at, I address it and I make sure, let me see you give it your all. Let me see what it fucking looks like when, really grinding, and all of a sudden that bar speed just screams. So understand that you can always probably give more effort than you think. I'm not saying you need to like sniff ammonia before your plus sets or anything like that, but you might be surprised when you really dial in and understand what it's like to push as fast as you can, what happens. So yes, you're not every rep, especially on those sets, is going to be screaming like, you're doing your first work set or something. But the goal is to push as hard as you can all the time. Within, obviously, be under control and don't train like an idiot. So yes, it's going to slow down, Ben. That's because the weight's heavier. There's no way around that. Zach Glacier says, also I'm 30 years old with 3 little ones under 5. Oh my God. You're nuts, Zach. The Walrus training has helped me not have to worry about going crazy heavy and keep my workouts short and recover for everyday life. Totally understand, man. Totally understand. Zach, I'm going to tell you though, there's going to be a point where you're going to get in such good shape and you're going to start feeling like an absolute animal that you're going to start pushing the volume. I did this. Most guys do this. And then all of a sudden you're kind of back where you started from. But just enjoy the time. And the one thing, if you can, Zach, I don't know if you can, one of the cool things you can do with Walrus training, at least what I did, was instead of doing one long workout, let's say I would do 2 to 3 shorter workouts. Your body feels way better. And you can always tolerate just a little bit in smaller doses, but that's just been my experience. So I love training like that. The washed athlete. Well, at least you smell good, or at least aren't dirty. I assume you meant like the washed up athlete. So here we go. He says, not a question, but I started doing 5-3-1 for hack squats and machine bench and machine overhead press. It's worked very well. My power clean, snatch, and jump and sprint performances have gone up a lot. That's awesome, man. Listen, there's nothing wrong with using machines and any of that stuff. I think that, the muscles need to be stimulated. So that's awesome, especially if that's what's working for you. I will never thumb my nose. I'm going to give you an awesome thing. I saw this the other day and I thought this was hilarious. I saw a video from like one of those shorts this guy was doing all this kettlebell stuff and like sandbag stuff. And he's like, if you want to get real strength, you got to be unconventional. Barbells and especially machines won't ever get you there. Bro splits will never get you there. You got to train, whatever. 2 days or 3 days later, I happened to click on a video with an interview with Eddie Penny, who was a DevGuru guy. And he said how much training was so important to him. And they asked him what he did. He goes, I just do body plot, part bro split kind of thing. And I was like, well, there's an actual warrior. Now I know he's DevGuru. I understand he's physically talented and all that stuff. But I just thought it was very funny. Like, there's a place for everything, guys. The most important thing is that you're consistent, you work hard, you eat, sleep, all that other stuff. Nothing wrong with doing things a different way. All right. The most important thing is you're building some muscle and kicking some ass. But boy, if someone should have told Eddie he could have been DevGuru, that's DevGuru squared. Could have been way better. It's one of my favorite things. Let me tell you how to be a warrior. All right. Lucas says, hey, Jim, I've been following you for a long time, and I'm a huge fan of everything you share. Well, thank you, especially my herpes. I don't have herpes. He says, just wanted to ask, how do you recommend incorporating Walrus training into the 5-3-1 program? Super simple. You do your main lift, whatever that would be. I definitely wouldn't do like boring but big, but you can do FSL. You can just do the regular. You can do 5 sets of 5, stuff like that on your down sets. And then your assistance, which ties in perfectly to the push-pull single leg core, you just put on your weight vest, or if you don't have to put on a weight vest, and you do your Walrus training. I probably wouldn't recommend anything more than like 30 minutes of a Walrus training. Personally, I wouldn't do it. So whatever that means for you, doesn't mean you have to do 30 minutes. I mean, if you finish in 20, then you're done in 20. Not a big deal. Listen, when I train people personally, when I have the athletes here and they work one-on-one, our actual workouts, the time that when we start training, not the warm-ups and stuff like that, is basically 30 to 35 minutes. That's how much we work hard, we work efficiently, we have a ton of variety, but our workouts do not take a lot of time. They don't spend 60 minutes in the weight room. That's, that doesn't mean that we won't do a challenge or something dumb like that, or the prowler work or something like that, but our actual weight training doesn't take very long, and we do a lot of work. I asked one of the kids I work with, I'm like, what's the difference between training here with me and then training when you're in London? And obviously I think we had like 65 kids the other day. He's like, training with you, way harder and way shorter. It's unbelievable. So what I'm trying to say is get the main lift done. I just went off on a tangent there. And then just plug in anything you want to do for Walrus training. Anything. Your body will recover. You'll be fine. The only thing I will say is just be wary, again, I addressed this, of doing a ton of volume, especially when you first introduce Walrus training in the barbell. Be wary of doing too much volume on the barbell and in the Walrus. Make sure you start too light and progress slow. So, yes, you'll be good to go, Lucas. Boss man, there we go. Suggestions for diet and stretching. 57-year-old, 6 foot 255, been lifting for 40 years, recently had a quad rupture. How to fight soreness at 57. All right, so diet and stretching. Listen, I don't know, I'm not any expert on diet at all. But if I was going to give a general recommendation for diet, I would say, listen, you're gonna have to have some kind of protein source. This is at the very least. And then generally speaking, some kind of fruit or vegetable. If more people just did that, it's not perfect, I get it. I think we'd probably be better off. What those protein sources, everyone knows the basic protein sources. What kind of fruits and vegetables, whatever you like. I don't think it matters that much. I've seen people, like, you got to eat different colored apples. Dude, I'm just going to eat the apples I like, all right? You got to have cauliflower. I don't like cauliflower. I'm not eating it. I know if I buy it, it's just a waste of fucking money. I like eating carrots. Fine, I'll have some carrots. So that'd be my number one, like, overall arching thing. But boss man. But if there's something that, like, if you've got an autoimmune disease and you have to eat differently, or you have some kind of, maybe diabetes or something, I don't know, then yes, you're going to have to change something. If you're not adverse to, like, some foods, just eat them if they're not hurting you. But in general, some kind of protein source at a meal, and then some kind of fruit or vegetable. And then if you want to eat extra stuff, fine, that's fine. But that would be my general overarching idea for diet. And if you have a tendency to overeat, or just not terribly good at making those decisions, you're going to have to keep some kind of food log, and you're going to have to track that stuff. You're going to have to be super disciplined about it. So, all right, like Vincent DeCenzo is a perfect example. Super smart guy, knows about training and stuff, but he knew, like, listen, if I don't track all this shit, I'm gonna overeat, and so he still does it to this day. So he says, again, been lifting for 40 years. He ruptured his quad. How to fight DOM soreness. Like, listen, there's a couple things. One, you're going to get sore when you train. I assume your soreness is out of this park. So one of those things is the number one rule of recovery is don't train like an asshole. So listen, at the beginning, you're going to have to understand, like, listen, whatever I'm doing in the weight room or outside, or whatever I'm doing physically, like, is too much for my body. Your body's giving you information. So you're going to have to cut back on something or eliminate something, whether that's volume, intensity, duration, what else is there? Frequency, all that stuff comes into play. So you're going to have to figure out what are the things that are causing you that tremendous amount of soreness, and you're going to have to eliminate them, or just not eliminate, maybe not eliminate totally, but you're going to have to make sure, you cut back. And again, I don't know if that's volume, weight, whatever. The other thing is just general everyday movement needs to be increased. So and I don't, like, walking's great, but when I first started doing all kinds of the walking, I'd walk for 10 minutes and then hit some stretches or some Cossack squats, or just sit into a squat, or do some calf raises or push-ups. I think it's important that when you do that stuff, even on a bike, I ride for 10 minutes and I get off and do some mobility work. So my body's always moving, not just doing this the whole time. I'm doing different stuff. And one of the best things I ever did is something I call active recovery. It's in the Beyond book. It has to be done a certain way, meaning not like a workout. You're just generally moving in different ways, different planes. And I think for me, that's the best thing I ever did. I think it raises your general physical preparedness very high, as long as you don't turn it into a workout. Highly recommend that. But again, the other thing is, if you address your diet, that may eliminate some of your delayed soreness too, or your just soreness issue. That might not always. I know people go bananas. As soon as I change this, whatever. For some people, it doesn't work like that. So, and just understand, like, if your goal, you said you're 255 pounds, like, let's say you want to get down, let's just pretend you want to get down to 205. Don't try to get to 205, in October. Give yourself 24 months. Just take off the pounds gradually, slow and low, baby. The slower you take off the weight, the more you're going to keep the weight off. If you drop all the pounds super quick, it probably won't work. So that's what I suggest. BJK. So the pro says, can I do 1 set to failure on wrist curls and reverse wrist curls after all the accessory work? Sure, not a problem. Or a double overhand grip deadlift hit my forearms enough without the wrist curls. And if you want to do them and you think they work and they're good to go, I would do it. We obviously do like a lot of rows, but when we do some reverse curls, the only thing we do differently with reverse curl is when we do the exercise, I tell the kids not to just do it like this. We cock the wrist, hold it, totally smokes the forearms. So yeah, the pro, can you do it? Sure you can, not a problem. Caleb LeBlanc says, hey, ever thought about doing something along the lines of a music podcast where you talk about your favorite music? Yeah, I thought about doing some music stuff. My dad actually suggested that like 10 years ago. I don't know if I'd be very good at that stuff, because I love music, but I probably don't like a lot. Like I'll hear a band, like, yeah, man, they're fun, but I'm like, I'm never going to listen to them again. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm getting older. I still listen to the same basic stuff. And the only thing I do is any classic album or something that I missed, I try to pick it up, even if it's like out of print, which can get a little expensive here and there. So yeah, and plus, I don't know. I hear a lot of stuff that people like, and I'm like, I love Iron Monkey. I think Iron Monkey's unbelievable, but that also was at a time in my life where I was really into that stuff. I was like, I bought all of Iron Monkey stuff right when it came out on Earache Records. It was awesome. And I understand, like, not a lot of people like that. And the other thing, I'll be honest, man, the way that they make albums, like, everything's so clinical. It sounds like plasticky to me. That's why I love the Misfits. The real Misfits, the one with Danzig. Let's just be honest. Listen, if you start the band, write all the music, write all the lyrics, do all that stuff, that's your band. If you take that guy out, it's not the Misfits. I don't care what anyone says. But I love, like, that production, because it's just raw. It's what it is. It's probably most of it was recorded live. I just think it sounds, to me, way better, rather than just pro tooling everything so it's perfect. I like hearing all the, I don't know. I'll give you, like, for I Hate God, I think their first album sounds the best. I really do. I love how nasty it sounds. To me, that's what heavy metal should sound like, Like, death metal should sound raw and nasty. It shouldn't sound clinical. So, all right, here we go. Gunnar in SP says, hey, Jim. Hello, Gunnar in SP. Chesty T Channel. I always think your name is Chesty, like you're a bugsome. Got some huge sweaters uplands. He says, hey Jim, I'm doing Born But Big as leader and FSL as anchor. Based on your previous comment, after doing the couple cycles of Born But Big, I should then move on to a different program in Forever for better improvement. Not sure what you're asking because you are moving from boring but big to FSL, so you are changing, right? I'm not exactly sure what you're asking there because you are changing. So yes, you're doing good. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. I don't know. I honestly, I apologize, Chessie. You've asked a lot of questions here, but I don't understand what you're saying because you are changing, right? Because you're going from the boring but big to the FSL. So you're good to go. You're good to go. Samuel Jones says, hey, I'm coming off TRT to hopefully get my wife pregnant. How big of a hit to my strength and size could I expect? I assume that's what you meant. And should I change my programming due to coming off TRT? I don't know about like how much you're taking. I assume you're TRT, so you're probably taking a fairly low dose. Listen, it's gonna kick your ass a little bit, man. If I was you, because there's gonna be, I don't know how long you've been taking shit, but let's just say it's like 2 years or something. You're gonna ride, after maybe, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks. That's probably when it's gonna hit, and you're gonna feel it. So if I were you, I would ride the bus as long as you can, and then when shit hits the fan, I would probably drop my training max to 80%. All right. And so that's your bare minimum. If you feel good, go ahead and you can work up with some, heavier sets. If you just feeling whatever, then you just maintain that 80%. So I'd keep that static. I wouldn't even change my training max at all. I'd only say, listen, like if your final set is 185 or something and it feels good, rack it, bump up to 200. And then, oh my God, it feels great. Then bump up a little bit more for, go from singles or sets of 5, whatever works for you. So I would keep 80% and then just say, listen, my bare minimum is here. And then I would do, 2 to 3 assistance lifts or whatever you usually do. Keep the volume fairly normal. But again, if you feel good, adjust and go up. But I'd have a daily minimum and I would keep my training max for all my lifts static, 100%. The other thing I would probably do is make sure you're not training too much. I'd probably say 3 days a week. I'd make sure I'd get some zone 2, like kind of conditioning stuff in. Whether that's hard or easy, I'd try to stick on a little easy side. And I'd really make sure your diet is solid. So what that means for you, I don't know. I would generally like to say most people should get, in general, 150 to 200 grams of protein, especially when you're trying to get stronger and all that other shit. So it's going to happen, bud. There's no two ways around it. So just be prepared mentally and understand this is not a forever issue. All right, you just battle through it and you'll be fine. But don't think the world's going to come to the end because you had one bad workout, or you're going to have to stay off shit for 4 or 6 months or something like that. So, but good luck, man. No one likes coming off TRT. All right. All right. Ivan Bunchik says, I've been doing boring but big for several months now because it's simple. I get it. And I have a clear goal for the day. You just mentioned boring but big is not meant to be run year round. Nope. So what should I do to switch things up? I would alternate between boring but big and just the standard program with heavier or harder assistance work. That's number one. Number two would be to do your main work and maybe 5 sets of 5 of FSL work. And I would change that. So instead of doing like bench press, I would do floor press. So I would do alternate stuff. Instead of doing, for example, squat, you could do safety squat bar or something like that. You'll have to adjust the weights for a little bit. So then you do a different supplemental lift. And again, you do harder assistance. So there's 3 things right there I would probably do. I think it's super important that, listen, I totally get why you just want to stick with that, but you're going to, like I said before, you need to introduce different movements to your body in the weight room. As an example, I've said this before, when I work with people personally, we do always have a main lift for the day, and then we just get creative as hell with our assistants. It's not always the same stuff. It could be anything. Today, I don't have it in front of me, but today, one of the kids I'm working with, we're overhead pressing. Our assistance work that's peppered in between every single set is the back raise, the ab wheel, barbell curls, and sled. We're pushing and pulling the sled today. So that's our assistance work. The other day when we did it, I think we did bench press. This is another kid. We did bench. We did weighted chins. Oh my God, I can't believe I can't remember it. Dumbbell squats. I can't remember the other thing. I don't know. I can't remember what the other thing, but we just pepper it with different stuff. That way your body, you have to strengthen all the individual stuff. If you just keep on doing deadlifts, the same areas your body are going to be strengthened, and you're going to have holes, so to speak, in your body. You're going to have weaknesses that develop. So same idea, guys, that Louis talked about a million times. So James Welton says, if I am not able to have a middle school program and I have 8th grade to seniors in one class, how would you organize this on a 5-day schedule? Same movement pattern per day, but just progress, regress? Yes. And then you just have, so let's say we're squatting, some of the kids body weight squat, and once they get to a certain point and they can show competency, what that means, I don't know for you. Maybe they're able to do 50 perfect reps, and then they move to the dumbbell squat, and once they've mastered, let's say 50-pound perfect dumbbell squat for 25 reps, then they can move to the barbell, and they start with the empty barbell. So yes, I would have some kind of, on squat day, everyone's squatting, right? We're doing something like that, and we just have some kind of progression and also some kind of goals to get to the next thing. So I would probably lift 3 days a week, and those 2 other days I would do some kind of movement, games, cone drills, jumping, stuff like that. So, and if I were you, I assume this is, you have classrooms, so it's going to have to be quick. I'd have a main lift for the day. Everything would be on a timer. Every single set would be on a timer with the main lift. And then I would have pockets like, listen, you got 10 minutes. These are the 3 assistance lifts you do. Everyone's got to work their ass off. That's how I do all our in-season training. We do that, our off-season too, but we have more time. So, but you're going to have to keep things very strict with time. Because if you just let the kids do whatever, nothing's going to get done. There's, 10% of the class is going to kick ass. 80% of the kids is just going to be and then 10% aren't going to do nothing. So if they show up, if they're taking that class, they're working. That's what I would do. Everything would be, and again, when you introduce this, James, you might just introduce on that first day the squat. We got to teach the first 2 weeks, just might be like, listen, we have to get this right on a timer. It's going to take some time. I will not introduce any other movements or any other exercises or whatever until we perfect this thing. And then you add in a little bit once they get good at getting things done, set up, all that other stuff. So be patient. Don't expect them to do the full workout perfectly the first day. You're going to be so frustrated. That's what I did. I introduced a movement, how to do the movement, and then we got in the pacing. And then once that was perfect, we introduced something else. We just started building. All right. This is not like I'm working for the day. I'm working for 4 years. So we have to get things right, get things fucking perfect, man, all the time. It's taken time, man, to get where I am today at London. It's taken time, and you have to be patient. Alessandro says, hey Jim, I have a piriformis inflammation and can't hip hinge with loads, but I can do back extensions and kettlebell swings. Is it enough to get stronger while I rehab? Yes. Part of my rehab, the only strength thing, I can't say the only strength, but the big strength thing with my back right now is back extensions, 45-degree back extensions. And the other thing is make sure you are addressing not just hip mobility, but hip strength. That's huge. I don't know how you're going to do that or what you have access to. That's what I've been doing. I address my hip strength. I address my hip mobility, my psoas, and my low back strength and glute strength. Those are the things I really pressing on for. So I appreciate it though, but good luck, man. Be patient. Listen, again, do not look for a short-term solution for a long-term problem. Take your time, build a core and a low back that's made of titanium. No bullshit. Marius says, hey, I'm wondering if you still think it's a good idea to have one lower body day a week when training for strength and conditioning. Yes, 100%. I think you could do 2 if you can recover from it and it fits how you train. It fits your readiness. But yeah, 100%. Dude, Joe DeFranco did that. He did everything wrong according to the fucking experts, and his kids were fucking dudes. So don't worry about that, man. We're going to change to that style of training in probably a couple weeks here. 2 weeks probably. And magically, everything works itself out because we are consistent, we train hard, and we don't kill our kids. There you go. So yes. All right, James Welton says, how would you balance actually teaching students about strength training and setting them up for life? Well, I don't worry about the life stuff because the strength training, the things that you do in strength training are going to be lessons that you will learn. So I don't get up there and pontificate. We talk about getting stronger and getting better. And through that, through their experiences of having a great attitude, having super high standards, being held to standards, even like, listen, if you come in, you have to be wearing the right t-shirt. You cannot be wearing fucking Crocs when you come in. Little stuff like that, having those high standards, that's what's going to teach you. It's not like you're going to be like, read from the Jordan Peterson book while they're training, all right? The act of getting in there and doing things to a high standard with great effort is what's going to set them up for life. Yeah. So it says, how do you balance simplicity with variety? Well, one is the first thing we did, we taught them, the squat, bench, trap bar, dumbbell squat and stuff like that. And we just hammered the basics for a long time. Then we added something in every once in a while. Now the kids have enough experience, and it's taken years and years and years to get there. We always, again, James, we talked about this earlier in the live stream. We always have a base, and that's always the bench press, the squat, and the trap bar. And then that's our base, that's our simplicity. We always have high standards for how we do those movements, and then our variety ends up being assistance lifts. And I don't give the kids, not the 8th graders and the freshmen don't get to do dumbbell cleans and devil's press and stuff like that. They have to earn it through dumbbell squat, getting their abs strong, making sure they can do rows and pull-ups. And then as they get stronger and their bodies get better, then we can add more variety. So, but again, get them stronger on the basic stuff, be consistent, have high standards, and then the variety comes in again with all the different stuff we do with assistance work. So, and again, you're not, the life lessons that you're going to learn are how you run the training facility, how you carry yourself, stuff like that. So you're not going to be, how do I put that? You're not going to be again, pontificating while you're training. The lessons come from the training itself and how you do it. 55OL, I got a text. Hey Jim, can you explain the idea of 2 shorter Walrus workouts? I currently do what I saw in your short 2 days a week for busy guys from the blog and 2 days with Walrus recovery. Because it's easier for me to do 2 shorter sessions on my body than it is to do 1 long one. I guess that's the best way to put it. And you can get more quality work in, right? So that's basically why I do it. I'd rather do, if I was going to do 2 Murphs in a day or that kind of volume, I'd rather do 4 shorter sessions. That's been my experience. I don't think that works for everyone, but it works for me. It's easier on my body, much easier. Easier on my joints. And then especially when it's super hot in the garage or super cold, I get in and get out. So it makes things much easier for me. And mentally, it's much easier. I could always do X, Y, and Z, but if I had to do X, Y, and Z times 20, mentally, it would be much harder for me. And I saved that for the challenges, man. I'm just stacking really good days. I'm not going bananas during my sessions. The Finnish Flash says, hey, I moved from reverse pyramid on bench and squat to 5-3-1. The progress continues again. There you go, man. Good for you. Keep doing the basic movements. Make sure you're doing good assistance work. You can do any kind of variety you want. So that's awesome. Ooh, it's 11 o'clock. I got to get through these here because I got a kid coming in. Jonathan Crossley. Jonathan's got an engine, dude. That kid's got, you're doing awesome. He says, hey, more power to you and your athletes training in the heat and humidity. Again, Jonathan, I told my wife this the other day. It's summer miles bring fall smiles. In the Midwest this week for work and 90 plus here. Yep. And humidity is much, much worse than the 110 degrees and dry in Vegas. Yeah, I agree. I'd much rather go through a Tucson summer than a Chicago summer any day of the week. Fucking hated living like in the summer there. It was brutal. Pablo says, hey, thank you so much for the tips on the sciatic pain. I have been able to consistently deadlift better, slow and steady, but it's definitely working. Thanks a ton, boss. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. And remember, Pablo, no short-term solutions to long-term problems. Address your issues, build. Everything will work out. But if you try and jump back into doing X, Y, and Z too quick, you're going to just get in that circle of injury and pain. Zafrican says, hello, coach. What do you suggest for increasing the overhead kettlebell press? Well, I'll be honest, man, I've never done those, so I'm not sure, but I'm going to guess you got to get your technique down, right? I'm sure that's super important with the balance. I assume it's just, with regular, not bottoms up. Bottoms up, no one really cares how much you bottoms up kettlebell press. And the other thing is I'm going to assume you have to strengthen the upper back lat quite a bit, right? For stability. Obviously your abs and low back have to be super strong too, but it seems to be everyone needs super strong abs and low back. So that, the other thing is make sure your triceps are strong, because once you get that thing moving, you're going to have to lock that out. So, I would, probably do rows and chin-ups, dips, I would definitely do dips, maybe some isolation tricep work, push downs, it can be with a band, just high rep, just pump those things up, get your dip. I always, most people, if my goal was to get stronger at stuff, I'd have like a base of things I should be able to do. And one of the things would be like 20 pull-ups, I'd probably say 35 to 50 dips, obviously 75 push-ups somewhere in there. And so that your general body strength is good. Make sure you're able to do certain abdominal work on the back raise. You should be able to hold a position for 3 minutes. If not, then your back's not where it needs to be. Stuff like that. So that would be my suggestion. Obviously technique, and then just get generally stronger in those areas. So JP says, hey, I'm 35 years old and the nagging injuries have started every time I straight bar deadlift. I get sciatica or shoulder pain. Any issue with just switching to the trap bar? No, there's no issue, JP. The problem is, and I ran into this, is the issue isn't the straight bar. The issue is your back. You're going to have to fix your back, buddy. Doesn't mean you can't switch to the trap bar while you're getting healthy, but I would highly recommend addressing the problem, getting that back, abs strong. Again, low back needs to be super strong, 45-degree back raise, hips, strengthen your hips, mobility in the hips, super strong abs. So listen, I totally get it, but you're just you're avoiding the issue. The issue isn't the barbell. The issue is your back. Remember that. Here we go. Caleb LeBlanc says, hey, all those bands around the time of I Hate God and Down and early Crowbar are some of my favorites of all time, and I completely agree with what you said about the Misfits. Thanks. There's another couple bands from that time that I never knew existed, and I wish I should have written them down, Caleb. Next week, see if I'll try and find them. But obviously Acid Bath, amazing band, but there's a whole host of those bands I didn't even know existed. And I had my ear to the ground with all that stuff. Like I was, always trying to find shit. And these bands, I wish I could remember them. But man, I am telling you, Caleb, they were very much heavy and awesome, like Acid Bath. Same kind of like awesome singer and stuff like that. I can't remember their name. I don't even know if I would recognize it. I'd have to go look it up and listen. So, but you are exactly right. Here we go. Someone... Caleb Pablo recommends Evokin. They're slow doom. Luke says, hey, how's it going, mate? What's your best way to weight train for Muay Thai as someone who wants to compete? Luke, there's not a best way. Okay, there's no best way. I don't care what anyone says. I'd have to see where you are. I'd have to see where your weaknesses are. I'd have to see, your training age. But generally what we do is our weight training for someone who's going to go to whatever sport it is general. All right, it's not specific to Muay Thai or wrestling or football or anything like that. We only do that when you're at such a level that we can start doing more specialized stuff. But even then, we still try to maintain that GPP. So I would pick some kind of squat, some kind of pull, trap bar deadlift, some kind of press, bench press or overhead press. Those should be your main lifts. And then you try to get generally stronger in all areas. As an example, you should always be able to do 20 pull-ups, 35 dips, let's say 50 to 75 push-ups. We have to just get your body generally stronger. Back raises, again, 2 to 3 minutes of holding in a static position. Make sure you're able to do straight leg raises. All right, again, this has to be, I'm not saying you do that right now. You have to work yourself up, and then we can start getting more specialized. But just get generally stronger 3 days a week, 1 main lift per workout, 2 to 4 assistance exercises, and I think you'd be good to go. But there's not something specific to Muay Thai because, again, strength training is general. That means I train basketball players the same basic way I train football players because they have the same basic strength needs. It's only on the little stuff that we start nitpicking that might be for the athlete. But until they get to a high point, it's not going to matter. Muay Thai football players need to have strong legs, strong abs, strong low back, strong shoulders, all that stuff. All right, so if you can't do like basic levels of fitness and strength, then we don't worry about that stuff. We just get generally stronger, and that's the best advice I can give anyone, especially coaches or anyone that's training. You don't need anything specific until you get to that point, and you're probably not at that point. Coco Loco says, hey, Coach, today I'm just in to make numbers greater. I appreciate that. And just put another tab on the view count. Greetings from Rome. All right. Honeymoon and just regretted minimum 2 times getting married. That's right. Everyone should have 1 practice marriage. So, right, James? That's my son. That's right. You got to get divorced once. That way you know who not to marry, and then you know why you shouldn't get divorced again, because it's a pain in the ass. Squat RX says, hey, I've had nagging hip and low back issues. Then last weekend did sled work. Crazy how much that can matter when it's the missing ingredient. The pain was almost instantly much improved. Cheers to you. That is awesome, Squat. But remember, man, don't just jump back. Get that stuff healed. Get that shit strong. Okay? Super important. I won't say what I was going to say right there, which I've said a million times. I'm not going to say don't look for short-term solutions to long-term problems. Oh, boy. All right, Matt Handy says, hey, Jim, on the 7th week protocol for the training max test, your recommendation is 85% training max is 5 reps. But if one is using 80%, are we shooting for 8 or just keeping the 5 rep mark? Yeah, you can do that. Yes. Yeah. As long as, and then listen, the other thing, Matt, is every lift might be a little bit different. The more fast twitch you are, the lower the reps you're going to get, right? That's how a lot of times they tested back in the day. If you're more fast twitch or slow twitch, they would put about 80%. I think it was 80%. And then they gauged the lower the reps, the more fast twitch you are. The higher the reps, the more slow twitch you are. So yeah, I'd say about 7 or 8, somewhere in there. But again, Matt, some of the lifts might be a little bit different. So just understand that, all right? Mario says, hey, when training the lower body once a week, we will still use lower body assistance on upper body training days, or we keep it to 1 day. Mario, here's the best thing. Can you? 100% yes. Do you have to? 100% no. It just depends on what you're doing outside the weight room and what your recovery is like. All right? So understand, yes, you can. Doesn't have to be. Jose says, hey Jim, what is the best template for a cyclist? How to balance lower body volume? What about supplemental and assistance work? All right, so I'll just rewind a little bit. We talk about why training is general and not specific, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a cyclist or anything else. We just try to get generally stronger. Now, the other thing you have to address when you're training athletes or doing shit outside, whether you're a cop or in the Army or whatever, is your training has to complement your life, whatever that might be. Since obviously you're putting a lot of miles in, the number one thing I would have you do, Jose, is I would have you train 3 days a week. Monday would be like the bench press and assistance work. Wednesday would be the trap bar or squat or deadlift. So it'd be one lower body, main lower body. And then on Friday, we would do press and then chin-ups as our main stuff, okay? So we would only have one major lower body workout. Again, Mario's just kind of asked this too. I would keep the supplemental work down for a lot of stuff unless it's lighter and faster. So maybe your first set lasts for no more than a set of 5. The assistance work would primarily be either injury prevention stuff or just building some general muscle mass, all right? I would probably put in, if I'm gonna be honest, if I was training you, I'd make sure we get some kind of low back and ab work in. That would be a huge priority. Our lats, upper back, and arms would be very big. And I'm not saying we gotta get huge arms, but just for general strength and fatigue, obviously upper back. And then I'd probably do some kind of step-ups. I think concentric only training and sled work would be awesome for a cyclist. And you would probably do the step-ups. It doesn't have to be like a ton of volume, and the sled work on either Monday or Friday. So, because they're easy to recover from. So that's what I would probably recommend. Caleb LeBlanc says Soylent Green. Yes, I love Soylent Green. I got, God, what is their first? I remember I got Pussy Soul when it came out, but there's another. No, this is well beyond Soylent Green. These guys never even got a record deal, the band I'm thinking of. So, dude, of course, Soylent Green. Oh, I got to see them live a couple times as a five-piece too, which was awesome because you got 2 guitarists in there. Brian Patton's absolutely awesome. Who's their drummer? Got the fastest feet in the South, they used to say. Tommy Buckley, unbelievable. Drums for Crowbar now, but man, he was solid. Luke says, hey, thanks for the reply. Have you ever heard of Tactical Barbell? It credits you a bit in the program. I've heard the name. I'm not familiar with it, man. So I apologize. All right, last question because I got to get going, guys. I got dudes waiting for me here. Pablo says, hey, regarding nutrition, do you have a preference for protein source? Generally speaking, I think eggs, the normal stuff, chicken, red meat, stuff like that, a protein powder, obviously, too. Whatever kind of sits well in your stomach that you have access to and that you can afford, I think is solid. I don't think you need to go bananas with that stuff, but I like to get protein from different things. Again, perfect world, I'd have, chicken, eggs, and red meat in the same day. So he says, I cook everything myself to ensure the amount of calories fit. That's great. I only cheat with the absurd amounts of habanero I use. That's the only thing I love. When you start eating, healthy and bland, man, the stuff that you throw into the meat and stuff, that's when things start getting spicy, literally. I totally get it, man. And I love spicy stuff. Not heat for heat's sake, stuff that's got some good kick to it. So, all right, I got to get rolling here, people. I really appreciate everyone. I apologize for the pain in the ass that this was in the beginning. As always, if you're going to do something awesome this weekend, conditioning-wise, enjoy it. Do something dumb. Push yourself. If not, enjoy your friends, family, all that good stuff. Don't forget, we got a Jim Wendler forum. It's awesome. So if you have any real nitpicking direct questions, please ask there too.